Welcome to the Business Playroom. I have to get used to my little swingy chair. This is Series 2. You call it Season 2.
I call it Season 2, you call it Series 2.
Okay.
Potatoes.
Exactly. On my right here we have the wonderful Elizabeth Campbell, who is our special guest all the way from Brisbane and in the middle of a tour. Yes.
True.
And to my left, my guest panelist, I'm finally getting this right, Michael Griffiths.
Welcome.
Thank you very much for hanging around. Thanks for everybody for coming on. This is blowing my mind today because my job is sucking up all this information from all these amazing business people. I feel very lucky.
You're learning from the experts.
Yep. Now, Elizabeth Campbell, I've met you before and I've watched you talk and present, and we have this thing for words.
Yes.
Elizabeth Campbell, tell me a little bit about yourself.
Okay, so I am the Word Stylist and I have been in business for about 4 years. I teach business owners how to blog, so how to use the written word to stand out online, to position themselves in the best possible light, and I love it. Like we were talking before words, I love it. My background is actually in journalism, so I've had a journalistic background for about 16 years. Kind of a funny story how I come to be here actually, because I pretty much was working in the media, and you know the media is stressful, right? Really, really stressful, and pretty much had a nervous breakdown and walked out in a Jerry Maguire moment without flipping the bird and saying, who's with me? I just decided that was it, like I didn't want to do it anymore. And thankfully I'd started my little business on the side for shoe money, and if I was standing up I'd point to my shoes, usually they're sparkly ones. I'd started it on the side already, you know, and I just found this little niche that no one else was really playing in, and all we did was write. I started a consultancy and we just wrote. That was it. I didn't do marketing strategy, I didn't do anything like that. We just wrote, and it was nuts. It grew so quickly, and then about 18 months ago I started teaching business owners how to write, and I found this whole new love for presenting and sharing what I know, because people actually, you forget what people don't know.
So what I would love to know for the people watching, because I have a blog, you have a blog, you have a blog?
Yes.
Great, so we all have a blog, we understand, we've bought and sold and doing it.
Yeah.
But for those who don't have a blog, why would they want to consider creating one?
Yeah, good question. And one I get asked all the time. And I simply say that the blog is the easiest form of content to produce, right? You can edit it yourself, you can sit down, you can write it from the beach, you can write it from wherever. You write 300 to 500 odd words, and be done with it, right? You don't need an editor, you don't need to cut, you don't need to stop, you don't need to come back, you don't need to get anyone from any outsourcing place to help you. You can just write it and post it, and you can make little changes. You can go back and edit it yourself if you like.
So let's go back to someone who's watching has heard, okay, I believe in this, I think I should start a blog. What do I do? What's the first step? How do they start creating that blog?
Have a website. Add a blog to the website. Don't ever have a blog. This is another thing people will say, oh, but I've got a blog over on Medium or on Bloglovin or whatever, on Tumblr, on wherever, right? No, the blog goes on the website. The whole reason it's there is for SEO and for readers as well, right? To build relationships.
To drive traffic to your site.
SEO, drive traffic. Once they get there, it builds the connection, the relationship, they fall in love with you and want to either follow you or work with you, right? So you start off really small, to blog on the website, work in WordPress or Wix. There are heaps of others, they're just the two that I know, that I've used, that I know how to use, that are easy to use.
Blogging is still new to me. Like, it's only something I've started in the last 4 or 5 months. And I feel that the way that I structure it can be better, and I know that you have a way that you can show us. Maybe you can show me a few things.
You want me to get up and
Can
show
I introduce you to the whiteboard?
Yes, please.
Yes.
Hello, whiteboard. It's nice to meet
There
you.
you go.
Okay, so.
You're left-handed. Wow, first
I
one.
nearly said C. C. Okay. All right, so how do you actually structure your blog? so that it's read, right? So from my background in journalism, we worked to something that's called the inverted pyramid. Have you guys heard of it?
Is that like a funnel, or is it different?
No, different.
Different thing. Different application, Renee. Move on.
Yeah, same triangle, different purpose. Right, so our first, this is the most important information at the top, right? When you're writing, most important. When you're writing a journalism story, we always lead with the 5 W's and the H. Who, what, when, where, why, and how. And all of those questions are answered in the first 25 to 30 words. And you really can do that. In the body, we elaborate on each one of those 5 W's and the H. Who, what, when, where, why, and how. And each one gets its own paragraph. So the who gets a paragraph, the what gets a paragraph. That builds the body. At the end, you'll have the least important information, right? It might just be some quotes you don't need. It might be from a source, you know. You might not have the space, so they'll cut from the bottom up. It might be some information about an event that really doesn't need to be there. When I started writing for online, it worked to a degree. This will work for guest blogs and articles, news articles, right? It won't work for a business blog that you want to somehow get a sale from. So what I did was I came up with, whoa, how's that for an hourglass?
That's
pretty good.
I am not an artist. So I came up with the hourglass figure that we've actually trademarked. This is what it looks like. At the top, we have a headline, a hot headline. Then we have our lead sentence, the body, and I'll explain in a minute why we've done this. Ooh.
I'm getting the feeling there's a lot of pressure on this lead sentence.
The lead sentence's job, I'll tell you in a second.
Because I'm a bit of a lead sentence kind of guy, actually.
It has to compel people to want to read on.
Yep.
So I'll say lead sentence, but it's lead paragraphs, you know. Your headline then leads into your lead sentence or lead paragraph, so maybe like the first 1 to 3. This sentence, there's a lot hinging on it, like you said. It has to compel people to want to read on. So what I like to do is ask questions, because if our brain reads a question, it has to answer it.
Yep.
So I ask questions, I use tips, I use fun facts, I use trivia, inspirational quotes, right? And then I'll write a little bit about.
Where do you get your inspirational quotes from?
Some I make up, some I take off the
That was an
internet.
example of a question.
Oh.
See what I did there?
See? Did you just NLP me?
Good practicing.
Yeah. Right?
But
He's
yeah,
just
you're right.
implementing what he's learning straight away. He's
Very
a good student.
This is how I'd go straight into it.
Straight to the front of the class,
Yeah.
Andrew.
A+. This is true though, right? So what he just did then was ask me a question and I had to answer it. Your brain does the same thing, even if you're reading silently, it'll answer it.
Yeah.
So, and I actually write, can I give you my best tip? I only share this stuff in my full workshops, but how I write it is actually like, if it's a top tip, I'll write top tip so people know exactly what it is and then write the tip. So this is in caps, it's in bold, they can see it. You don't see this stuff on blogs, you see it on social media sometime, but blogs are changing too, the way that we write. So I want them to stand out. I'll even put like little, you know, dots, full stops in there to just pad it out so it stops the eye and then they read it and go, oh, okay, cool, this is a top tip about whatever, how to turn content into cash. Cash, I might put like it in bold, just so it stands out. We all want to make more money.
Can I ask you one question? What is your thoughts on using capitals? What does a capital mean for you as in a whole word or a whole sentence? Because
Yeah.
I don't debate heavily, but I use this a lot and people are going, why are you yelling? You say that. I'm not.
No, I don't say that,
Oh.
but I've seen people do this to you on social
Yes,
media.
but what I'm doing on that is actually going, you don't need to read the rest of the stuff.
Yeah.
I'm giving you the guts of it in the bold. If you read these 5 sentences in the bold, you've actually read the whole thing.
Oh, wow. So when it comes to capitals, do you use the whole sentence and it's all capitals or just words?
the sentence. Yeah.
Okay, that is
And
like
even whole paragraphs I've seen him do.
Ooh,
Yeah.
okay.
Is that stretching it?
Yeah, because capitals are actually really hard to read. They stop our eye. So it'll read like top and then our eye will stop. We don't know this is happening, but it hurts our brains a little bit, right? Then we read tip. So the whole reason that we have sentence case is because it's actually really easy to read. Even when you've got capitals on every word, it stops the eye. So capitals in sentences or paragraphs, really hard to read, and people will actually, they get sidetracked and then go, oh.
Kirsty, Wendy, I take it all back.
Yeah, so that did not go the way that you were hoping to.
However,
No, but hey, I'm humble enough to accept that I might be wrong, but it doesn't mean I'm going to change the way I do things.
no. You could tweak it, right? So
Yes.
you would have impact words within that sentence that you bold. So maybe 1 to 3, because that's enough. So what I've done here, it's enough for them to go, oh, this is something I need to stop and read.
Okay.
But then it allows the eye to carry on.
Great advice.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So kind of 50%, you've dropped down to a B minus.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Right, so the body, the whole reason I've used the hourglass is because the body needs to be short and sweet, sucked in. The whole reason there for sucking it in is because we want people's eye to keep reading down the page. We want to make it as easy as possible to get them from here to call to action, right? Because 9 times out of 10, they'll read a blog and be like, boring, Facebook, 5 hours later. In our body, we want to make it really, really easy for the eye to continue on down the page. Dot points, numbered list, a little bit of bold, a little bit of italics, short, sweet sentences. No real, if your sentence is longer than 2 lines, it probably needs to be 2 sentences. Now, coming back to your thing on read these 5 sentences, because that's the most important, this is what I do. I have little bites throughout. Usually at the top, I'll have something that's bolded, that is like it pushes on a pain point, right? So is your blog taking too much time to write? So I put time to write in bold, italics, brackets, something, caps. Then I'll take them down and I'll give them a little reward. It might be like, amazing content, and I might do something like this again, so it just draws the eye down. Then to your call to action, I'll say come to my workshop, right? So all they need to do when they jump on my blog, because we only have 3 to 5 seconds to make that impression, keep people's eyeballs on the page, all they have to do is go bold, caps, italics, bold. That's it, right? So you've taken them
That's in the body.
top to bottom.
Oh, top to bottom.
Yeah.
Okay.
Lead to call to action. Because we need them to stay on our page all the way down to our call to action, where you would have your link, this is a serious call to action. You don't just say, I've got workshops, you can come if you want. Here's the link, here's the link to buy, or here's whatever your plan is for that blog. Mine are always, the call to action is always come to my workshop.
You said in the call to action, your call to action is come to my workshop.
Yeah.
That's completely different to what I've been told and read and learned before, because it's like, here's my free opt-in. It's like get them in the top of the funnel. It's here's my free thing to sign up for. I'm just getting a name and email address.
Yeah.
So I'd love to hear your opinion on it.
So I used to do that as well, and as I've been refining and reworking all of this stuff, I decided, right, content marketing is about sharing 80% awesome information, 20% soft sell. So why couldn't your call to action be a 20% soft sell? I haven't had any feedback from any of my readers or anyone, like followers or anything, to say, oh, I read your blog and I got like stacks of value out of it, but I hated how you sold me at the end. I always sell into and tell people to sell into something small, under $150. People will usually just go, oh, it's $147 or it's $97 or it's $49. I can easily pay for that, right? When I started to do that, instead of here's my free ebook, here's my whatever, join my tribe, that's when I saw the biggest spike in sales that I've ever seen in my business. Wow. 20% in a week.
All right.
So can I just go back to call to action, because
Yes.
this is very important. You must have a call to action on every piece of content that you put out, whatever it is, and you have a plan, right, for that piece of content. So as I said, mine was always workshops, but yours might be to increase your list. So whatever your goal is for your piece of content, it falls back into your call to action.
I'm going to ask Elizabeth. I'm going to ask us to go around. There's so much. There's a lot. Is there anything else you want to say? Because I'm going to, for the audience here, I want to give us little bits of gold that we've picked up ourselves.
No, I mean I could talk about this stuff all day. So cut me off. I'm ready for your questions.
Okay.
Well, yeah, let's go takeaways. Yeah.
So takeaway, Michael, what was your takeaway for our audience here?
I think it's just the structure. So that's really easy for pretty much anyone to be able to follow. You can go in, there's four parts. So finish part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4, you've got a piece. So I think a lot of people sit there and go, oh, what do I write? I've got no idea what to say. Where now it's just, okay, so headline, lead sentence, body, call to action.
Yeah.
Which is a nice thing to be able to instruct if you have a VA or a content manager to go, this is my structure, this is my system.
Yeah.
Isn't it too? My little takeaway was the 3 little pieces, like this came from the conversation about the capitals, but is the use of the bold, the caps, the italic, just to keep them like, there's just 3 things or a few things that just agreed to get to the bottom.
I think that's a really cool idea because, you know, I am all about bullet points, efficiency, you know, don't waste my time, I don't have time for fluff.
Yeah.
So for me to just go, oh, yeah, I can see how that would appeal to someone like me, going, quick, that, yep, I'm down at the bottom, I'm looking at your call to action before you know it. And I really like that. And I also think that I'm glad that my content manager, Stevie, is in the room and listening to this because I would like to test out your little offer the entry product instead of the free product and see what happens.
Yeah.
Let's give it a go.
There's a secret to that.
Ooh.
Then.
Hold on, you don't drop this in at that.
Everyone block your ears, just tell me.
So we got the 20% increase in sales by promoting the content as well, right? So a lot of big mistake that people make, one of them is, well, an issue that they have is they don't know how to write it. So the structure always comes in and they don't know what to write about. So yes, what you were saying before is huge. The other thing though is the promotion. So they always just put it out, they'll put it out on their website and leave it there and just think that a whole bunch of people are going to find it, right? So we promote that. We promote all of my blogs every day in different Facebook groups on all my social platforms to, like, not every day on our database, but every week a blog goes out. Every month we have a blog roundup. So literally we're promoting the heck out of it.
Wow, nice. That's actually really,
That's
I've just
the
changed
little
my
secret.
takeaway. Elizabeth Campbell, are you ready for 10 questions? In 1 minute.
Hit me.
Me first.
Ready? We'll ask the first 5 and then I'll follow up with my last 5.
Okay.
Do you need to have a sip of water first? Are you good?
I'm good.
I do, I get really nervous around this point.
Okay, yeah, me too.
Don't try and do this to me, guys. I'm going to be on it.
Okay, got the timer ready?
Okay,
Ready? Biggest role model?
Oh, Andrew Griffiths.
Oh, you're stuck on an island. What is the one thing you have with you?
Lip gloss.
Best advice ever given?
Just put one foot in front of the other. Keep going.
Worst advice ever given?
Quit.
If given one wish, what would it be?
That I reach my goal of helping 1 million women around the world with their content businesses. Yeah.
Nice answer. What's your favourite children's book?
Spot.
How do you find play in your business?
Music.
Ooh, nice. Name something that makes you go,
Don't look at him when he does that.
Good food.
Okay. Where did you have your first kiss?
Out of fate.
Okay. tell me something about you that we don't know.
I love this question. I love Star Wars.
No, really?
Star Wars.
What about the last ones though? Like the
I
ones that
love
George.
them all.
No,
Yeah.
the Phantom Menace.
All of them.
Oh.
How did I go?
Well, you've been able to come close to me,
Yep.
but that's because Andrew did most of the talking there. I took a long time.
Can I tell the Star Wars?
I just want to say one thing too before we finish, because Rose Davidson in Adelaide suggested to me and Elizabeth, and she's called us out notable times on social media, that Elizabeth Campbell and myself should work together. Rose Davidson, here we are.
Ta-da!
In the same
Just
room.
for you, Rose.
Just for you, Rose.
Your dreams have come true.
She says it all the time,
She
doesn't
does. She does. She does.
There you go.
Bless her soul. I'll see you. I'll see you in a couple of weeks anyway.
Tell her I said bye.
Thank you very much, Elizabeth Campbell, for coming along
My pleasure. Thank you for
and
having me,
for
guys.
sharing your knowledge and for sorting me out with my capitals.
Yes, I'll be watching.
I'm actually so grateful that you said it exactly how
There'll be
it
a few
is.
people.
I read your mind, girl power.
Thank you.
Michael Griffiths, thank you very
said
much
that.
for being a special guest and a guest panelist. And Renee Hasseltine, thank you as always.
Thanks for keeping me here.
That's the Business Playroom. Nice.